In September 1788, the Austrian Habsburg army, one of the largest and most powerful forces in Europe, was camped near the town of Karánsebes. They were preparing to face the Ottoman army. They outnumbered their enemy. They had the high ground. They had every advantage. By morning, approximately 10,000 of them were dead or wounded. The Ottomans had not arrived yet. The Austrian army had spent the entire night fighting itself. A chain of misunderstandings, panic, and language barriers had turned them into a self-defeating catastrophe. This is the Battle of Karánsebes, one of history's most unhinged military disasters. To understand Karánsebes, you need to understand the Austrian Habsburg army of the late 18th century and how incredibly complicated it was. The empire stretched across Central Europe and was one of the most ethnically diverse in the world, and its army reflected that diversity. They spoke at least 10 different languages and followed different customs, operating under a structure not optimized for rapid communication. The language barrier was a constant challenge. Romanian infantry might not comprehend instructions from German-speaking officers. This was a known, unsolved problem. It began with alcohol. A detachment of hussars had been sent to scout for Ottoman forces. They crossed the Timish River and found no Ottomans. What they did find was a group of local Romani people who had schnapps for sale. The hussars bought the schnapps and began drinking. When the Austrian infantry arrived shortly afterward, they found the hussars in possession of a very good supply of alcohol and demanded a share. The hussars refused. An argument broke out. The argument escalated, and then someone fired a shot. When the shot was fired, someone shouted a warning. In the darkness and confusion, the warning was heard and misinterpreted as "Turks! Turks!" The infantry, hearing shouting and a gunshot, concluded the Ottoman attack had begun. They opened fire on their own hussars. The hussars, being shot at in the dark by people they could not identify, concluded they were being attacked by Ottomans. They fled back toward the main camp. The chain of misunderstandings had begun. Fleeing hussars reached the main camp. Officers shouted, "Halt, wer da?" in German. Non-German-speaking soldiers heard shouting in German and galloping horses. They reached a logical conclusion. The Ottoman cavalry had broken through. What followed was spectacular military self-destruction. Units began firing at the muzzle flashes of other Austrian units, thinking they were the enemy. Officers tried to restore order. They shouted commands in German, which a significant portion of the army did not understand. It only added to the confusion. Emperor Joseph II himself was reportedly thrown from his horse into a stream during the chaos and nearly drowned. The commander was lost in the panic. Entire units began withdrawing, which caused the units around them to conclude that things were even worse than they had thought and retreat further. By dawn, the Austrian army had withdrawn, leaving behind its artillery, its supplies, and approximately 10,000 men killed, wounded, or trampled. When the Ottoman army arrived at Karánsebes the following morning, they found the battlefield already occupied by Austrian casualties. The camp was deserted except for the dead and wounded. The Ottomans walked into Karánsebes essentially unopposed. It was one of the most complete victories in their history, and they had not fired a single shot to achieve it. The entire battle had been fought and won by the Austrian army against itself. A note of genuine historical honesty is warranted here. The Battle of Karánsebes is one of those events where the documentary evidence is thinner than the legend. The most colourful versions were written well after the event, and some historians have questioned whether the schnapps element was embellished over time. What is certain, there was a catastrophic breakdown. Thousands of Austrians were killed. The Austrian army's language problem was a documented operational issue throughout the campaign. Whether the exact sequence unfolded precisely as the story suggests is debated. But the core fact remains. The army suffered a catastrophic self-inflicted defeat. The Battle of Karánsebes, 100,000 soldiers, 10,000 casualties, 0 Ottoman troops required. The greatest military disaster of the 18th century. Subscribe for more forgotten history and let me know, which part of this chain of disasters do you think is the single biggest mistake? Thanks for watching.